Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters, and tonight tomorrow we are going to be getting the rerun for Sygna, Lyra and Celebi, right? This the anniversary run-up has been absolutely insane with its reruns and the events that it's dropped. I always love the run-ups, they just bring so much like hype to me just because of all the free stuff we get, all the cool reruns and new characters we obtain and all that stuff, right? I love these times, but whatever. This is about should you summon for Lyra or Lyra and Celebi, right? I'm probably going to give you the same verdict that I did for Sygna Chris, where I say you should probably wait until the anniversary data mine first, see what's in it, see if you like the stuff. If you don't like it, summon for Lyra, right? Just go ahead, give her a good summon, because this unit has a lot of value to her that makes her really, really good, right? When it comes to comparing her value with Sygna Chris, I don't think you can really do that because the units do relatively different things. I mean, they both set a field effect, but that's about the extent of their similarities, I would say. Well, kind of. But I don't know. I don't know who I'd say is more valuable between the two, but I'd just say go for both, because both are going to help you out tremendously in any battles that you do, and the units are just so good, right? The units are so good, so let's go ahead and look at the details. I've already recorded this video once, and I realized that my audio was horrible because it opted to, my headphones did not disconnect from earlier, and they opted to record through the headphone audio microphone instead of my phone microphone, right? Which meant the audio sounded basically like I was talking through a fucking tunnel. Anyway, whatever. Let's go ahead and look at Lyra and her abilities here, right? So she is a tech grass type master fair, right? The date here on this infographic is not correct, of course. Again, thank you for these infographics, right? But her release date is, of course, tomorrow, August 18th, and she leaves around September 15th. It's around that time, right? So you get about a month of this character being up before she will, leave. And, you gotta probably summon before she leaves, right? I'd definitely say so anyway. I'm gonna probably do dailies until she leaves. I don't know if I'll do summons. If the anniversary summons for me go well and my Sygna Chris summons go well, which that's like hitting 4 fucking strikes in a row, then I'll probably try and test my luck on Lyra, because I do want her myself, but I don't know how bad, right? But whatever. Anyway, looking at her abilities here, obviously, as I said, Grass Tech. She's a Master Fair with Johto Pride, which powers up ally physical moves by 20% and reduces physical damage taken by allies by 20% or 25%, right? So 20% power up, 25% physical damage reduction, awesome, right? And if you have more Johto characters, it can go up to a 50% physical damage power up and 31% physical damage reduction, which is great. So you're taking 31% at maximum less damage from physical attacks, which can mean you can survive some strong attacks, right? Not that you're gonna have to, because Lyra's got a lot of abilities that make it so the enemy basically can't fucking move. Anyway, looking at her stats, she's got 636 HP, which is a solid HP tier, 332 attack, and 420 special attack. Pretty good stats. 332 attack is not really too low. It's about average, I'd say, but 420 special attack, that's really good for sure. 190 in both defenses, so she's got some pretty solid bulk. It's not like she's gonna be like a grade A tank or anything, but like these stats are something that can take a hit, right? You could probably take a decently strong attack and come out probably alive, so these are not too bad in terms of stats, right? So you got some longevity, and 336 speed, not a bad speed tier. It could be way worse for sure. This is not a bad speed tier to have, especially because of some other stuff she's able to do, right? So very nice, well-rounded stats for this character. So everything's already looking really good for sure. Looking at her passives, these basically define this character alongside the fact she sets grassy terrain. Hassling hit 9, which leaves the target flinching, confused, and trapped when the user's attack move is successful. That ability is so strong. I've tried to clarify this in the other video, but I hate having to say it again, but flinching your opponents is so easy. You can just flinch lock them and they won't move, and they'll just keep taking damage from your attacking move, which is Grassy Glide, a 3 gauge move, 100 base power, by the way, so it's not anything like super soft hitting. But they just take these attacks and just don't move. The enemy cannot move. If you go on YouTube and search Sygna Lyra Champion Stadium off-type solo, you're going to find a lot of different videos of this character being able to literally solo the Champion Stadium off-type. just because she is able to practically make it so the enemies can't move for so long that she's able to nuke them and kill them, while basically taking next to no attacks. It's insane. This unit is absolutely insane just because of that. If this unit just had the ability to flinch and got rid of like half of her stuff, she would still be immensely valuable, because making it so your enemy literally can't move is such a strong trait in not only the stadium, but you've got the high score event, you've got the legendary arenas, you've got extreme battle events. All of these events, as long as they don't like disable flinch, is just easily cheesable because of Lyra here. This is I would say Lyra is probably the reason why half the events in the game either gain resistance to flinch the more they get flinched, or they just have flinch immunity outright, right? So like, just so you can avoid something like this happening. Same thing with sleep. Sleep was so powerful because of Sygna back when she released that it was pretty much nerfed, right? A lot of enemies have sleep immunity or gain sleep resistance pretty quickly, right? Same thing with flinching, and Lyra's just so good at it, especially because if you face a lot of stadium stages, they don't have these flinch resistance or immunities. That's why Lyra is so capable of easily soloing a lot of champion stadium stages, just because they don't gain flinch immunity. You can just continue attacking them with Grassy Glide and they won't get flinched. And you can be pretty much unrelentless with your assault on the flinches and you're gonna win. It's insane. And then of course Confusion and Trap is awesome as well, right? Confusion and Trap for extra damage. If the enemy does somehow make a move, then they may hit themselves and they'll just take extra damage from being trapped. So they're going to be doing damage to themselves anyway, which is awesome. As well as of course facing Yuxi, to where they'll be trapped and confused, so you don't have to continue to flinch log it in order to actually do damage. But hey, may as well, right? Anyway, great ability, right? Amazing ability. Ruthless 9 lowers 2 of the target stat ranks at random when the user's attack move is successful against a enemy with a status change, basically flinch, confusion, or trap, which you're going to be getting from hassling hit. And it's every stat in the game besides crit: attack, defense, special attack, special defense, speed, accuracy, and evasion. So you'll lower one of these stats by 2 at random whenever you attack an enemy, essentially, just period, because if you're using Lyra, it's likely you don't pick up the status change removal parameter on master mode, right? So you just land a trap, confusion, and flinch, and then you attack them again and they lower their stats, one of the stats at random, right? Which is amazing. All the power play characters are benefiting immensely from that. Special Costume Rose is an amazing benefiter of it as well, and I'll go into that a little bit later probably. But yeah, being able to debuff and flinch and confusion trap, already really good. And then Turbo Turf quickly charges move gauge when the terrain is grassy terrain. Awesome. 20% gauge buff. And the fact that she pretty much doesn't consume gauge because she has grassy terrain here, which 2 gauge, sets up grassy terrain, which is still a great ability, right? It's still limited to her, Sygna to Acerola, and Holiday Whitney. And Lyra, I would say, is probably still the best user of it for sure. But again, when it comes to not using gauge, she's got Grassy Glide, which is a 3 gauge 100 base power move, but it doesn't consume gauge when the terrain is in grassy terrain. So not only are you already getting that 50% power buff from grassy terrain, you basically get to land Grassy Glides for free, and then you flinch, confuse, and trap the opponent, and then you randomly debuff their stats, and you're charging the move gauge just for having grassy terrain up. So you're not using gauge yourself, and you're supporting the gauge for your allies. Awesome, right? And this is where Lyra basically gains the ability to do everything in the game. Dire Hit All Plus raises all allies crit, so you don't need a crit support, you just straight up don't. Whether it be for Lyra or herself, you just don't, or Lyra or her allies, you just don't need a crit support at all. You can just use Lyra here and you can buff your allies crit. Great. I don't think it needs too much explaining, but there you go. You don't need a support for it. Really good for Gauntlet, so you don't have to do, honestly, it's not... This ability doesn't even matter for Gauntlet because you're pretty much soloing every single Gauntlet with Lyra anyway, so who cares? But whatever. Voices of the Forest, Voice of the Forest. Raise an ally's attack stat and special attack stat by 2 stat ranks and apply gradual healing to an ally. So you get to select your ally as well. Meaning Lyra essentially takes up the role of tech with her ability to debuff and apply these status changes, support with the Dire Hit All Plus and the trainer move and gauge acceleration, and damage dealer of having Grassy Glide. The only thing that does not make her a support is the fact she doesn't have a fucking support EX. That's it. That's pretty much it, right? And her stats are a little bit weak, but who cares if your stats are weak when you're basically flinching the opponent and they can't hit you? Like, come on. Come on. So you can opt to use her trainer move here to raise your ally stat. Like if you're running a mixed attacker, I don't know, I can't even think of any mixed attackers, I don't feel like it either. You can raise their attack and special attack by 2 and apply gradual healing to them, so they're going to be good for doing some more offensive attacks, as well as buffing their crit. Or you could just use it on her, apply gradual healing to yourself, and you can just flinch the opponent. And if you have Lyra set as the support slot, which is a possibility, you can definitely do that, then if you apply this ability to yourself and you just flinch lock the opponent with Grassy Glide, you can heal up your own HP from any damage that may creep through with the gradual healing, right? So there you go. And then her sync multiplier here just increases the power when grassy terrain, which is great, very easy to activate. Very, very nice, right? So Lyra at 1 out of 5 is just so insane. Her stats are already really good for offensive abilities and pretty solid for defensively, or being defensive as well as, of course, reducing damage from physical attacks with the Johto Pride ability, as well as powering up her own physical moves with this ability as well. And then you got Hassling Hit to flinch the opponent pretty much into oblivion, and as well as, of course, apply Confusion and Trap, so the enemy can't hit you. Debuff their stats so they take more damage, or, you know, just become weakened, like Latias. Very, very big one there, right? So you can solo Latias easily from this ability. Turbo Turf to you know, make Gauge go faster. So if you have allies that are pretty slow, Lyra can pretty much mitigate that problem because she doesn't use any Gauge herself. Grassy Glide for solid damage, just outright, and the fact that it doesn't consume Gauge in grassy terrain, and it's your method of debuffing stats. Dire Hit All Plus and her trainer move in order to be both self-sufficient and supportive of allies, and Grassy Terrain, of course, to support even more grassy, you know, grass benefiting characters, right? So there you go. She takes up the mantle of tech, support, and striker pretty much all at the same time, which is insane, just insanely strong. This unit is amazing at 1 out of 5. Definitely go for 1 copy. I'd heavily recommend it, especially if you're new, because this character does so much that'll just benefit you immensely in the future. She does everything. She just straight up does everything. I'm not going to say she's better than Sygna Suit Steven or anything, but she does. The thing with Sygna Suit Steven is that you pretty much have to select one path to go for him to work, right? Like, you can probably get a decent tech nuke if you want to do normal Deoxys, but you can't really get damage. Well, actually, you do have Psycho Boost, don't you? Yeah, still. You mostly want to run the Deoxys attack for actual offensive damage, right? But Lyra here, she's got offenses, she's got defenses, she's got flinches, she's got stat debuffs, she's got support. She does all of it at once, right? Which is one of the big things about Steven, is that you can't do it all at once. But whatever, I'm not going to try and compare her to Steven. I'm just saying it's a big fucking ability that she can do everything, right? Anyway, looking at the grid, 1 out of 5 is pretty much nothing. You got Grassy Glide, Move Gauge Refresh, which is great. Awesome, I guess. You can restore Gauge in case you have an ally that's really Gauge costly, because you're pretty much not using it. You're not using the Gauge once you have Grassy Glide and Grassy Terrain set up, so it doesn't really matter there. But for allies, having more Gauge is definitely going to be helpful. But that's about it for 1 out of 5, really. Pretty much, anyway. 2 out of 5, she gets Fierce Entry and Grand Entry 2. This makes it so she can buff her own offensive stats a little bit, so she has to use her trainer move on herself less, and you can focus on using this on on allies. So go for it. Speaking of, she also gets trainer move NPR, so you can actually max both Lyra's offensive stats here with this, and then potentially be able to support allies as well if you get the trainer move NPR. Not that I recommend it, really, because you pretty much just want to kind of spam Hassling Hit, or abuse Hassling Hit a lot, probably, but you can definitely do this, right, for sure. And then Verdant Recovery 1, also another great ability. Restore HP in grassy terrain, so you can combine this with gradual healing, and you've got yourself a lot of HP recovery. Also, she's got HP plus 30, speed plus 20, attack and special attack plus 20. Yeah, that's a lot of stat buffs, so you can also utilize those at 2 out of 5. Verdant Immunity, this ability is solid, but I'd probably never pick it up, just for the fact that, like, if you're flinching the opponent, they're not going to be able to hit a sort of status condition on you. It's just probably not going to happen, really. But if you're, like, in a situation where, I don't know, maybe if you, like, land an attack move on the opponent and you somehow get a status condition, this could be useful. But this, for the most part, probably won't ever pick up. These other abilities maybe, though, especially trainer move NPR and some of the offensive stat buffs, I'd probably pick up. 2 out of 5, though, I wouldn't say is anything too valuable. I would just stick with 1 out of 5 if you have like 1 candy or something. I would just stick to 1 out of 5 and use your candy on someone else, or save it up, get 2 candies, and candy her to 3 out of 5. because her 3 out of 5 is really, really strong, honestly. I'd still recommend staying at 1 out of 5 for the most part because of all of her utility abilities. She doesn't really need dupes, but once she does get dupes, this unit turns from gimmicky utility tech type unit into onslaught damage type unit. Just because she gets confusion synergy and stationary target 3, which benefit, you know, if the enemy's confused and trapped, which you're going to be getting, right? You're going to be getting them confused and trapped here with these abilities. That's a 60% damage multiplier on your Grassy Glides. 110 base power, not the greatest base power, but coming off of a relatively decent attack stat with 60% multipliers, you're going to be hitting pretty hard, right? You're going to be hitting pretty hard, so that's good, of course, right? As well as the sync nodes, of course. And then power play. Power play is great. The more the target's stats are lowered, the greater the power of the move. 18 stat debuffs total in order for you to activate the full multiplier of power play, which is not hard to get because she debuffs all these stats at random. So let the battle go on for long enough, power play will be fully activated. And if you want to make it go a little bit quicker, you got Mind Games 4 and Defense Crush 4. 50% chance to debuff defenses depending on which one you pick up, right? And which is obviously just a great ability already because you're going to be doing more damage with your moves because obviously if an enemy's defense is lowered, then you're going to be taking more and more damage from an attacking move, right? And then of course it also benefits your power play, so your multiplier will go up even higher. This is good. You can also run lucky skills for her, many different lucky skills. Crit Strike 2 if you want to do damage, Defense Crush or Mind Games 2 if you want to do debuffing, which I'd probably pick up one of those. I don't know which one I pick up, but I'd probably pick up Defense Crush or Mind Games, honestly, as my preferred lucky skill, personally. You could also run Adrenaline, because she has Adrenaline 1 as a passive skill here, so you can run Adrenaline 1 again and get some sync countdown, and you could do a lot of different stuff with that, which is awesome. And I think those are probably the big ones. Crit Strike 2, Defense Crush 2, Mind Games 2, or Adrenaline 1 are probably her best lucky skills. Or Vigilance. Well, no. Maybe. I don't know. If you plan on getting hit a lot with Lyra, which is hard because of how much she flinches, then Vigilance may be good if you want to prevent crits, but I'd say Vigilance is probably the worst out of those 5 options. But anyway, that's enough about lucky skills. She also gets Grassy Terrain NPR. That's cool, right? I'd probably say it's nothing too crazy to pick up, unless it's like a longer battle, in which case this may be a little bit better for you to pick up, but probably nothing crazy. Trainer move Mighty Friend 9. This Mace and Silver support capabilities are even better, just because you now give yourself or an ally a physical moves next when using the trainer move. So imagine you're running her with like Adaman or Sygna to Erica, right? You're giving them a +1 physical moves next, so their next move's going to be hitting like a truck. Or you give it to yourself, so your next Grassy Glide hits like a truck. Still a good ability, easily. And I think that's mostly it for her 3 out of 5. So yeah, if you want to run like a nuking grid, there you go, right? Like you can run yourself a nuking grid. At this point, you could probably either opt to pick up the stationary target 3 if you want DPS, or Defense Crush if you want to go for even more power play multipliers. It's really just up to you. You could also go for this version if you want to do more damage because of the special defense, but I'd probably go for the trainer move Mighty Friend for extra physical moves next myself. But honestly, this is a good grid as well. This gives you all of her DPS stuff as well as all of her nuking stuff. You would probably just have to bring a support, or not support, just another character that can debuff, so you can get the power play quicker, because Ruthless 9, while a great ability, it's a little bit slow, right? You debuff by 2 every turn. Once you get to your first sync nuke, that's -6 debuffs. Once you get to your second sync move, this is just assuming you're hitting Grassy Glides, right? This is not taking account for using anything else. But you know, on the first sync move, assuming you queue up all your moves in time, that is 6 debuffs. This is also isn't counting for enemies buffing their own stats back. If you go to your second sync move, that is 12 debuffs. And then your third is when you'll actually be finally getting all 18 debuffs, which again, probably not going to work because the enemy can buff their own stats back, and you're probably going to want to use Grassy Terrain, Dire Hit Plus, or at least your trainer move, right? One of these abilities you're going to have to use other than Grassy Glide if you want to, you know, really be efficient with using her nuke. So you'll probably have to bring another ally in order to actually debuff. Or again, you could probably opt to run, change this grid around a little bit and pick up the Defense Crush. Definitely something you can do. I wish I could pick this up. Let's make it a set. So we're just a little bit upset. Damn. They really don't want me to pick that up, do they? Oh well, that's fair. Anyway, yeah, you could try and pick up one of these abilities at the very least. I'd probably recommend it if you want to go for a full sync nuke, but if you want to just do as much damage as possible, you've got this grid where you got both Confusion Synergy and Stationary Target, as well as Power Play and both sync multipliers. It's not hard to, or sync nodes, I mean, it's not hard to bring another character who can debuff. He'll be just fine, right? So this is just a great grid, right? This is a great grid for doing damage and nuking. And you've got other stuff as well. In case you don't plan on nuking with Lyra, which is fair, right? You want to use another character. You can just go for the even more defensive debuffs, right? The defensive debuffs, that's definitely going to be an amazing ability to try and pick up. Yeah, you go for something like this and then maybe pick up one of these abilities here, like Stationary Target, where you can do a little bit more damage with your Grassy Glides, right? And then nuke with someone else, like, again, Adamant. If you're running Adamant, you can do that. Same as Erica if you want to. Why not, right? A lot of different options. Anyway, yeah. I recommend summoning for Sygna Suit Lyra, but I would also, again, recommend waiting until the Anniversary Data Mine, seeing what's in there. If it's a character you like, go for them instead. Of course, it's all up to you, how you spend your gems, whatever. But yeah. I do recommend summoning for Lyra, just wait until the data mine and whatnot first, and then make your decision. Anyway, yeah, I'll see you all later. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know if you're going to be summoning for Sygna Suit Lyra down in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you all later.